This is Hannibal from the HannibalTV.com with the daily wrestling news update. Firstly, Jim Ross did a podcast this week, is grilling JR podcast, probably tied with Steve Austin's podcast. This was my two favorite wrestling podcasts. But he did a Armageddon 2004 episode, and in it he brought up the incident around that time where Bob Holly had attacked Rene Dupree in a WWE ring while they were in a match. He had basically surprise attacked him, kicked him multiple times in the face. I believe there could have been a chair also used. I don't know. But I guess that this was in a retaliation for some confusion over a traffic ticket. And I guess Rene developed a serious medical issue due to the concussion that he suffered at the hands of Holly there. They did talk about that, yes. Then after, they went on to talk about Rene Dupree individually. Now Rene is a two-time WWE Tag Team Champion. He also had a big feud with John Cena in Cena's early years. But then the second time he talked about Rene, he actually had Rene Dupree confused with Sylvain Grenier, who was Dupree's tag team partner in the first incarnation of La Resistance. So the stories he was talking about in the second part of that interview were actually about Sylvain Grenier. He mentioned that Grenier was very close with Pat Patterson. Well, yes, they were good friends, supposedly, as the story goes. Sylvain Grenier was a male stripper. Pat Patterson frequented the strip club in Montreal that Sylvain Grenier went to. They developed some type of a relationship. And I guess Sylvain was signed very early on. I don't know if he was signed before he ever wrestled a match or not, but I know that he was very skinny when he had about a year of local wrestling, and then he was signed or brought up to WWE. I'm not sure if he was signed before he had the year of local wrestling or not. One day I'll do a shoot interview with him, but when I asked him to do a shoot interview, he told me that he's part of the WWE concussions lawsuit, so he wanted to wait until that's over before he does an interview with me. But I actually like Sylvain Grenier. He's a nice guy, by the way. I'm not disparaging him. It's just the allegations that Jim Ross made were not about Rene Dupree. They were about Sylvain Grenier. He said that Sylvain hadn't paid many dues in this. Conrad had mentioned that could have been one of the reasons for the heat, where Rene Dupree was wrestling since he was 14 for his dad. He's been around the business all of his life. Second generation wrestler. He got his contract through a tryout that Lanny Poffo had actually set up through Molly Holly. Rene did not even know Patterson, and they're not friends to this day. And there was never any rumors of any sexual relations with Rene Dupree and Pat Patterson, as Conrad Thompson alluded to in this podcast. Nothing like that ever came out. And I'll be perfectly honest, if Rene Dupree was actually close with Pat Patterson, he would have been back in WWE, because Rene Dupree is a very good wrestler and he's more passionate about the business than Sylvain. So yeah, I appreciate that Jim Ross tweeted. Rene made a video after I told them what was said on the podcast, because I wanted to double check. Hey, Rene, Jim Ross is saying this about you. Did it happen? By the way, there's also a story in there that Jim Ross he claimed to have played a prank on Rene, where he had arena security throw the person he thought was Rene out of the building. And he told the story that he alleged that Rene had been yelling for Pat Patterson when he was being thrown out by security. and then Pat came running to save him. So now that it's Sylvain Grenier, that is possible that story may have happened. So yeah, Jim Ross, I tweeted the video that Rene Dupree made, explaining that no, that was not him. And Jim Ross tweeted, yes, that was a mistake. Sorry. So Jim Ross is a stand-up guy. And I had a feeling that was just a mistake. And he likes to drink what he calls mules, which is an alcoholic beverage, during his podcast. So I could see if he'd had a few drinks, maybe it all meshed together. Ashley Shabbat says Ray Ripley won the NXT title. Is that a male or a female? I'm not familiar with NXT. I know that the NXT and AEW shows happened tonight. Anyone can let me know how they were in the comments. Zantastic, are they going to start charging me after I go over 20 hours of live streaming? I have no idea. Back to the rest of the wrestling news. Jimmy Uso was found not guilty in his DUI case that happened this past summer. He has been off TV since that DUI incident happened, so I would expect him to be back. I believe he was denied entry into Canada SummerSlam weekend, so this should be all sorted out now. Killer Cross, who's been asking for his release from Impact Wrestling for a long time, who could blame him, was released by Impact. I guess they officially announced it, but from what I understand, his contract was ending in December anyways. But I am going to see Killer Cross when I cover the PCW Ultra show in Wilmington, California, just outside of LA, January the 10th. It's their anniversary show. The Blood Hunter is going to be on that event, managed by Kevin Sullivan against Sabu. Ricky Banderas is going to be on there. Contra Unit. Huge card. So you guys should look forward to my coverage of that. And at least one match from that show is going to be published on the Hannibal TV. Also, in wrestling news, last night's WWE Backstage episode that featured an appearance by William Shatner was way down in viewers, averaging only 95,000 viewers with a 0.05 rating. In related news, CM Punk is part of the WWE Backstage show, and Stephanie McMahon did an interview with a UK media source and stated that she would like to see Punk, as well as his wife, AJ Lee, who was also Jay Lethal's ex-girlfriend, back in the WWE in a wrestling capacity. Rey Mysterio, who I posted a video of his old rival and tag team partner, Juventud Guerrera, talking about him. I know that Juventud, I don't even know how to pronounce his name, and I did a whole interview with him, but whatever, Guerrera, we'll call him, did an interview with me, and he wants to have another match with Rey Mysterio. He wants one more run on the big stage. Of course, that full shoot is at patreon.com/the Hannibal TV, along with my full shoots of Billy Jack Haynes, Hillbilly Jim, Shane Douglas. And next, in a couple of weeks, I'm interviewing Sabu and Kevin Sullivan, career interviews. And I might do a few more while I'm in LA. I know Chris Masters is going to be on that PCW Ultra show. I would like to get a full interview with him if he has time that weekend. In some sad news, speaking of full shoot interviews I've done, the second longest shoot interview I ever did was with Tracy Smothers. Look it up on the Hannibal TV. It's up there free. He was unfortunately diagnosed with lymphoma, which is a type of cancer. He's now on his third treatment, 3 more to go of chemotherapy. So I'm really sorry to hear that. I really genuinely love Tracy Smothers. He's a really nice guy. And I guess he has a pro wrestling tees store. So I would highly suggest people to buy his t-shirts and support him. The Hannibal TV has a Teespring store, which you can find the links to at thehannibaltv.com. I prefer to go with Teespring instead of Pro Wrestling Tees because they are affiliated with YouTube. And I think if you scroll down, even in this video, you could see at least one of our shirts that are on there. I'll be putting more shirts on there soon too. Anthony Gibson says the women's match on AEW was awesome. Get well, Tracy Smothers with the prayer sign from another guy. 63rd says, has Stone Cold stunned the Big Show? I do not specifically recall it, but I'm sure it happened. I guess it was Stone Cold's birthday, I think yesterday, as well as RVD's 39th or 49th birthday. Mayhem is asking me, do I think I got over my heat with Billy Jack Haynes? Well, let me tell you folks right now, I'll do a soft announcement of this. At WrestleCon in Tampa, Florida this year, there is going to be the Hannibal TV table, and Billy Jack Haynes is going to be at that table along with his current roommate and Portland wrestling buddy, Rip Oliver. So they are actually going to be representing me at WrestleCon this year, and there will probably be another interview with him around that time. So he has a lot of health issues, by the way, speaking of health issues. So come on down to WrestleCon and say hi to him. He'll be at the Hannibal TV table. And throw him a tip if you want to help him out, because I know I think they have a pretty good medical system in Oregon, but it's not all covered. So on that note, have a great night, everyone. I'll get back to you tomorrow once the Wednesday Night Wars are announced. Thanks a lot. Eric Foster says Rip is a big wrestling legend. And by the way, the reason I am doing bringing Billy Jack Haynes to Florida is because after our altercation that we had last year at WrestleMania weekend, as my dog's bugging me here to come up. David Penzer canceled Billy Jack Haynes from his Florida wrestling convention last year. So I feel to make things right in that situation, I'm going to bring Billy Jack Haynes to Florida. Crafted Man 1 says, I've been watching your interviews with the legends and enjoy them. Brandon Miller says, see you at PCW. Can I do a Jim Ross shoot? Coach G asks. I've been asking Jim Ross for a shoot. I did do an interview with him, but he has his books. I read his first book, by the way. I'd recommend it. It was very good. Especially I enjoyed his Bill Watts stories. But tweet him. If anyone wants to see a Jim Ross shoot interview, I suggest tweet him. Do a shoot interview with the Hannibal TV. Because the only way you're going to turn people like Jim Cornette and Jim Ross that don't seem interested in doing shoot interviews with me is tweet them. And then maybe if enough people tweet them, they'll be like, maybe I should shut these people up. JD Priest says, send a shout out to Thunder Rosa. There you go. God, there's so many questions. Lunar Forces, what are the chances of getting a shoot with Tommy Rich? Very good chance. Very, very good chance. Did Marty Jannetty have good drugs for his shoot? I never saw him drink in the whole 3 or 4 hours I was with him or do any drugs. And I hope he was supposed to do a part 2 this summer, but it got canceled. But I really like Marty. He's a great guy. Someone else says me and Jim Ross had good chemistry in the other interview I did. So thanks a lot. I really want to shoot with him. See you guys. Have a great night.